Welcome to MojoPlays. Today, we're looking at why Anthem got canned. What was the final nail in the coffin of this live service game?
Bryn and I have been working together. A little Sentinel freelancer cooperation. Freelancer!
You're what?
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. In 2019, after a troubled few years for Bioware, this once-lauded game developer released a brand new, highly publicized IP, Anthem. A live service looter shooter, the market was already saturated by the time Anthem came along, and it never knew quite who its audience was. People who wanted live service shooters were already playing Destiny and weren't interested in Anthem, while BioWare's core fans, still smarting from Mass Effect Andromeda in 2017, wanted a return to form for the studio and a much-awaited follow-up to Dragon Age Inquisition. Nobody except EA and a few of BioWare's developers were truly invested in Anthem, which had a notoriously difficult development.
I give him some time. He's got to learn for himself what he can and cannot do.
I suppose so.
One big problem that struck the game was the departure of lead developer Casey Hudson, whose guidance was vital to the success of Mass Effect. Then there was EA's requirement that BioWare continue to use the unwieldy Frostbite engine that had already caused so many technical issues during Inquisition's development.
More scars incoming. Looks like they're using gates. I hate those. Very unfair.
It was clear to everybody, except for the executives at EA, that Anthem didn't know what it wanted to be, and in the years since its release, it never worked itself out. At launch, the response couldn't have been more damning. BioWare's Edmonton studio had fallen from grace, releasing a buggy, empty shell of a game with endless, incoherent lore and uninspired gameplay.
Hey, freelancer.
More scars, I know!
He's looking extra powerful.
All it had going for it was the fun traversal mechanic, but that was nowhere near enough to get people to actually stick with it. Some people's PS4s were even completely bricked by the game when it came out, and it actually happened to us at WatchMojo. Ultimately, nobody thought that Anthem was worth the $60 it commanded at launch, and that showed when it didn't reach any of its sales targets. It even undersold the equally infamous Andromeda by half.
Still trying the one where you change an ace into a general?
I'll get it. Eventually.
The disastrous launch, combined with the game's total lack of unique identity, led to BioWare abandoning its roadmap of planned updates. New players weren't picking up the game, and people who owned it weren't jumping back in. But BioWare didn't turn its attention on revamping the content. The developers were instead forced to focus on Anthem's immense technical issues, and this was more than 6 months after the game's launch. It took BioWare that long to even try and put the necessary effort into repairing the game because it simply wasn't finished.
Because you have hope. You know how good it could be.
Hope. This place sure needs a lot of it.
It was clear that BioWare wanted to do with Anthem what Hello Games did with No Man's Sky, only they just weren't able to turn things around and give Anthem Next a redemption arc. But of course, that wasn't the end of the story for Anthem. That came in February 2021, just 2 years after the game's release, where EA finally decided to shutter Anthem, declaring it a failure.
I admit, it's nice to have someone actually inquire. I mean, you usually do, about everything. But still nice.
Ultimately, Anthem just couldn't find a player base. Not only did people not want to spend money on the many microtransactions, which EA relies upon and is the entire reason the company has been pushing live service, but people also didn't want to buy or play the game at all. Anthem just couldn't find a core audience of players who could justify the continued cost of development to EA and BioWare. But what could Anthem have done differently? And what lessons should other game developers take from it? Well, maybe if Anthem had taken the plunge to a freemium business model early on, it wouldn't be in the position it is now. It wanted to be Destiny so badly, and BioWare should have followed Bungie's example and made the game free to play. Then it would have more players, more feedback, and BioWare would have more direction on where its players wanted it to go. Freemium has long been something AAA publishers don't get involved in, but with the recent success of Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, and again, Destiny 2, it's clear that freemium is extremely profitable. there was no reason why a game like Anthem shouldn't have been made free to play, especially after everybody realized how bad it was.
No one knows more about the dangers of Shaper artifacts. I'm confident that knowledge and his own resourcefulness will keep him alive until you find him.
Of course, though Activision is changing, other big publishers, like Square Enix, have learned nothing from Anthem. Marvel's Avengers launched in 2020 with an even worse reception than Anthem, with microtransactions letting you unlock skins to represent the real-world companies who pay to have the Avengers be their mascots. Companies like Verizon. Another empty, floundering live service game, Marvel's Avengers has been a resounding failure, even with the weight of the wildly successful MCU behind it and the backing of Disney.
Your differences are your greatest superpower. No matter how bad things get, you always come together.
But there is a silver lining. EA, though widely regarded as one of the worst publishers in the entire industry, does seem to have learned some lessons. Following the failure of Anthem and the wild success of Respawn's Jedi Fallen Order, it looks like EA has finally seen that people want single-player games, and single-player games can make money and earn widespread acclaim.
So, you found me at last. I suspect you have questions.
These two things have been cited as the reason EA is finally letting Bioware get back to what they're good at: single-player RPGs. In May 2021, after years of wishing, players are finally going to have the Mass Effect trilogy remastered for 8th and 9th generation consoles and PC. And both a new Mass Effect game and a new Dragon Age game have been announced, including the fact that Dragon Age, though it was meant to be yet another live service MMO, is going to be a single-player RPG as well. With Bioware looking like it might get completely shut down for a while, Bioware fans are breathing a sigh of relief that Anthem's development team has been freed up to work on the games they wanted all along.
Thankfully, you're brave enough to approach your opponent, whereas I have been cowardly.
Cowardly.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter how much money a game gets thrown at it, or what the prestige of its developers is. If it's a bad game, it's a bad game, and players will see that. Publishers should stop looking for easy money and start looking for high-quality projects that people will want for years to come. Unlike Dragon Age and Mass Effect, Anthem is not one of these. And that's why Anthem got canned.
I fear they won't be counting on freelancers anytime soon.
That's understandable.
Just when we were making progress, you know?
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, there's more where that came from.